You're welcome back to the AM Club right here on MX24. If you're just joining in, you made the right choice. Thank you so much for being a part of the show this morning. We're about to get into our stories and big conversations coming up this morning. But before we do that, your money deserves the safest home. With Telecel Cash, you are protected every step of the way. No risk, no worries, no long stories, just peace of mind. Dial star 110 hash or download the Telecel Play app now for safe, secure transaction. Telecel Cash, the safer choice. Send it keke. Okay, so we're getting into our big conversation this morning, and joining us this morning is okay, so later will be Jesse Jakes, but Reginald Achenso Boateng, he is Deputy Director of Campaigns and Advocacy, the NDC Youth Wing. Good morning. How are we doing?
Good morning, Mimi. How are you doing? I'm very fine, thank you.
Really good to see you.
Very good to see you.
Really good to see you. Now let's jump into our conversation this morning. Government orders removal of fuel taxes to ease pump price hikes. Someone says politicking. Someone says PR is what's happening. They're talking about how is it that we are saying, you know, global issues are affecting our fuel prices, because obviously this is nothing we're controlling, but then all of a sudden we're cutting taxes. What is the reality about this entire conversation?
Mimi, good morning to you.
Good morning.
To all your viewers nationwide and to all friends and family that have tuned in to listen to this conversation. I think that it is no news that there's global tension currently happening, which is affecting prices of crude on the international market. And Ghana belongs to that international system. And so Ghana is also having its fair share of what is happening. The price of crude per barrel has increased over the past 1 month. And we are seeing that at the pump level, right? The difference is that in times of crisis, that is where leadership emerges. And the NDC is a party that has always been committed to ensuring that there are solutions to problems. And so you'd realize that His Excellency was on a trip and he asked that there should be an emergency cabinet meeting to discuss the way forward. In other countries, even in Europe, across Africa, everywhere, people are feeling the brunt of the tension that is happening within the Middle East. And the Middle East controls a huge percentage of global oil supply. And so if this crisis emanates, and we are trying to, as much as possible, try to get a solution to it, why should people say that we should be immune to global crisis? The difference is that the NDC took over in 2025. Around the time, what is the price of fuel per liter? The NDC did everything with its means, right? And also because of the favorable global price of crude, we were able to reduce prices of fuel from petrol. Around the time was selling at, maybe if I'm not even getting it wrong, around 20 cedis per liter or 19 cedis per liter. But it came as low as 9 cedis per liter, where we saw even OMCs doing competition on who can reduce it. And we hadn't seen that ever in the history of this country. And so if a threat emerges and is going to affect the prices of fuel, and over the past 3 weeks it's been jumping, there's always been an upward adjustment. And Cabinet thought it wise, or His Excellency thought it wise, that there should be an emergency meeting to find solutions to this problem that is emerging. I don't see why we should politicize it, right? The other thing is that in that Cabinet meeting, there were solutions that have been professed. Already when the NDC came into power, we ensured that the Tema Oil Refinery, which is supposed to be processing the crude that we produce, is capacitated enough to be able to produce. The only difference is that the Tema Oil Refinery doesn't have the capacity to serve all our fuel needs. And so it is solving some of the problem, but not holistically. And so we also need to know some measures that we can put in place to cushion Ghanaians for the period, because we are not immune to it, but then we need to have solutions to it.
But then I'm going to have you continue. But this brings to mind another conversation that is being had, that if we liken this to what happened in 2020 COVID, which because of COVID, the government at the time had given some reliefs and some, maybe let's call it relief for now. And, right after COVID, we came back to pay for it in different ways, shapes, and forms. And so they're likening this to that after this crisis, are we going to see these taxes, renewed or brought back and maybe in double fold?
In the year 2020, when COVID struck, the World Bank gave Ghana $2 billion to be able to cushion Ghana. COVID was a pandemic. The IMF gave Ghana relief. Corporate society in Ghana contributed in excess more than about 5 billion Ghana cedis to support the country at the time. And so you cannot liken this to COVID. But the scam with the MPP is that the MPP made us believe that they were cushioning Ghanaians. And at the end of the day, you saw what happened. We were imposed with COVID levy that they had to take about 5 years for John Dramani Mahama to come and take off that tax. You get what I mean? And so we cannot liken this to COVID. But even if we try to do that, the MPP blasted us with tax when a problem emerged. But the NDC is saying that we should rather take off some of the taxes that is causing the price of fuel to increase. And so what His Excellency has done is just not wanting to just take off the tax in that meeting. The finance minister, together with the energy minister, should go and have a meeting with stakeholders within the sector and take off some taxes for a period, for a period frame, just so that we are not also taking off the tax completely. It is a measure that we are putting on just because of the problem that exists. I do not see why this should be likened to COVID at all, because we paid COVID levy for 4 years. The NDC is not thinking of imposing more levies on us. The NDC is rather thinking of easing the pressure on the ordinary Ghanaian. And that is why even the NDC established the Energy Sector Levy Act, the ESLA, that the NPP government at the time collateralized. Because what the NDC thought of was that because we had discovered oil and the price of crude was very favorable at the time, there was a tax that was imposed on oil products just so that we have a basket to collect that money. In times like this, we use those monies to cushion Ghanaians. The NPP decided to collateralize that for some loan, and so any money that comes in the basket is servicing a loan. Do you understand? But then, even in that, the NDC is still not sitting aloof or sitting on the flanks. What we are deciding to do is to be able to cushion Ghanaians, take off some of the taxes. I think that Ghanaians will welcome this, you know. Okay. But for the stabilization of the cedi, we would have been paying about 19 cedis again for a liter of fuel. Yeah.
All right. Now, this conversation also is one that it's very delicate, but also very important. And so I believe during your 2024 campaign, so not just in 2024, prior to that, we saw some judge advocate strongly for this and push for it to be signed. We're talking about the Anti-LGBTQ plus bill. Wow, I didn't know. Wow, LGBTQ plus bill. Well, Ghanaians demand expedited passage, not dialogue. That's coming from the Ascent South MP, Reverend Ntim Fordjour, and he's sending this message to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. You want to start speaking on this already? Please go ahead.
Yeah. Even before I come to that topic, I also think that there were other measures that were mentioned during the cabinet meeting to be able to cushion Ghanaians. The president has instructed that fuel coupons, so no government appointee should be given a fuel coupon.
But
right?
This was before that.
Yes, so before that, they had cancelled fuel allowance.
Yes.
And then now they have also cancelled fuel.
Coupons at all.
No coupons, no allowances. This is a government that cares about the people, right? This is a government that thinks that in abnormal times, we need to have extraordinary measures.
I think largely, it's for people, it's just the sustainability of this. Because you can put together all sustainability and implementation and sustainability. Because once you are able to, things should just move beyond dialogues. These meetings, we've seen it in the past, present, and many times. Ghanaians are more, drawn to action now. So if we're saying that MPs and ministers are not going to receive fuel coupons or fuel allowances, that's fair. Right. I mean, they're paid enough to sort themselves out. So
but yeah, as part of their terms of contracts, usually they are entitled to allowance, fuel allowance, and then fuel coupons. But then I get what you are talking about. Exactly. There should be a basket that these monies are contributed into. Absolutely. Or like, if you are cutting off coupons and allowances, how much is that raking in for us? What are we using those monies for? I feel you on that.
Absolutely.
But also, it is also commendable that at least a step like that is taken. And so some of these grievances can be taken on. So that finance minister lets know how much you are spending on fuel coupons, say, every month.
Yes.
Now that you are cutting it off for a period of time,
does it look like?
What does it look like? How is it going to? And most importantly, Ghanaians also want to see results after the meeting. And so you have suggested that you are going to take off some taxes. Does it mean that just for free advert, maybe Star Oil that is selling for $13.30, by the time, after a week, it should be maybe 12 cedis per liter. We want to see actionable results after that meeting.
Absolutely.
But it's also how fragile the war is going. You know, at some point there's a ceasefire, at another point there's no agreement, and so they might go back and they might escalate things. But we are still going to be monitoring how the international system is going to be playing out, and then see how best more solutions can be professed into it. You get what I mean?
There's a suggestion that we should take more realistic actions towards everything we're doing as a government. So, i.e., cocoa, fuel, the Ghana cedis, all the actions that are being taken looks like, oh, they're temporary plans. So we are supposed to move with the wave of what is happening globally, as opposed to find a definite solution until this entire thing is completely done.
Unfortunately, because we do not live because the country does not live as an island on its own, we are definitely interconnected in some way or somehow, right? I understand when you say we should have lasting solutions. That is why when the international price for cocoa dwindled, His Excellency said that, no, it means that we should capacitate local producers to be able to process our cocoa locally, just so that we are not always exporting the raw beans. Right, that is one of the solutions that the Ghanaians are looking for, so that we can have Ghanaian processing firms buy the cocoa from the cocoa farmers that we are making over here from Cocoa Board, so the money will be retained here. We only export the finished good. That is one of them. When you talk about fuel, that is why now Tema Oil Refinery is operational. The next big thing will be more investment into maybe oil refinery. But we are also thinking of constructing a second gas plant. So apart from Atrabo gas, Atrabo gas also gives us some of the fuel we use to even power industries in Tema. Apart from the Atrabo gas, which is one gas plant, there is a commission that has been put together to see the implementation of a second gas plant. That's some of the solutions that the NDC is tabling on the table. And so we are not just talking about it, or finding a knee-jerk approach to it. It is lasting solutions. But for the time being, these are some of the measures that are going to be implemented to ensure that Ghanaians are cushioned and hardship is reduced, right? Now to the substantive matter you spoke about, LGBTQ+. Reverend Ntim Fordjour has been a member of parliament for some number of years. And so you would expect that, of course, he should be very much abreast with parliamentary rudiments. And he knows that the bill that was passed way back in 2023, that was served on the table of Akufo-Addo somewhere in March 2024, has expired.
Of course.
And so it needs to be reintroduced into Parliament.
Absolutely.
There needs to be more stakeholder engagement.
But for how long?
No, but so he should rather tell us, because he's one of the members that are sponsoring the bill. So he should rather tell us that it has been introduced in Parliament and they are going through A, B, and C. Sam George his position has not changed. And so I do not think that he should be victimized in this. His position is still on course. He is still a part of the members that are sponsoring the bill. I guess
people are expecting that the same tone he had then should be like allies with Reverend Ntim Fordjour. I think to keep pushing.
I think he's still an ally. The only difference is that we are not seeing him be the face of this because of possibly more responsibility. You get what I mean? Because now when Sam George wakes up, he's now thinking about the communications ministry, which is very huge. And the problems within the ministry, uncountable. The sort of rot that happened within the ministry before Sam George came into power, I bet you, if he hadn't stepped into that office, it was just but a few that he knew about. And so there needs to be so much work that needs to be done within the ministry. I'm not even trying to make a case for him. But what I'm just trying to say is that perhaps he's not the face championing this bill, but it doesn't mean that he's not part of the proposers or the sponsors of the family bill. And his view about it has not changed. The other part of it too is that I do not enjoy Ntim Fordjour when he tries to call His Excellency out on this matter. Because His Excellency has stated on countless occasions on various platforms that when the bill gets to his table, he is definitely going to append a signature, but not just append a signature, of course. He's definitely going to have a meeting with the Council of Elders. They are going to go through it. Council of State, I beg your pardon. Go through it, and then possible recommendations will be made, and then eventually being passed. And so if Parliament is failing to do their bit of it, which is the initial and most important part of it. It shouldn't be a call on the president.
Do you not think that his comments on the bill not being a priority now could be the reason why they think that he was not?
And Mimi, I agree completely that the LGBTQ plus bill is not a priority of the country today. It is not our priority. Our priority is the number of our kids that are struggling under trees. The priority is our healthcare system that is failing and needs a lot of investment. Our priority is how much food we're able to put on table, how our kids are. That is the priority of the country. How we can build back the economy that has suffered so much loss and has sunk so deep. That is what we need, how we can build the infrastructure of the country, how we can ensure that people are living decent lives. That is the priority of the NDC. And it was stated even when His Excellency was being sworn in. That is the priority. The priority is not going to change because, no, of course, when the LGBTQ plus bill comes up, we are definitely going to talk about it. But what His Excellency is rather pushing for is a more nuanced conversation about it. It's a more broader consultation, broader engagement, engage the clergy, engage people, engage ordinary Ghanaians. Of course, there's...
Would that not, was all of this not done before it was presented the first time? Is it not just representing or reintroducing the bill that needs to be done? Now, all of these has been done. Again, I'm worried. I think it's just going to...
You know, all of these things have been done, but we should talk about what even brought us here.
Right.
After it was presented to His Excellency in March 2024, a group took this matter to court. It was even that has been the first time that a certain Chief Justice has been demonstrated against, because the proposers and the demonstrators against her at the time was suggesting that the bill, there's this court case which needs, like, justice should be served as early as possible, just so that it could be passed before the expiration of I think the 8th Parliament, right? And that was not done. And so it takes it back to square one. We can reintroduce the bill. And it's not even, but the proposal of the bill can reintroduce the bill, and there's going to be a lot of engagement again, because that is how bills are passed. When there's a first reading, they are going to allow for more input. And I think that this is time, it even gives us the opportunity to have an open conversation about it, to receive more inputs. Perhaps the first time there were some people that we missed out. It is good that this is coming up again, just so that we can get their inputs. You get what I mean? And so Reverend Ntim Fordjour should know his place in this, and should expedite his role in this as well. Because if you're a proposer of a bill, you know the process is supposed to go through. You get what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, he isn't the only person speaking. He's just the mouthpiece of the mighty minority that is...
No, but it was the minority that was against this initially when it was passed.
I mean,
when the bill was ready.
I saw a snippet of minority leader speaking on how hypocritic the NDC has become regarding this. I guess that's the position of the MPP. I want to ask because Jesse Jakes is
he's the chief hypocrite in this.
Oh, okay.
Minority leader.
Okay, that's not something I think we should agree on this morning. Those were not my words. I'm going to Jesse.
But you have endorsed his words.
Come again.
But you have endorsed his words.
How did you endorse my words?
Because you could have asked him to withdraw his words.
How do I withdraw? I think he's a hypocrite in this matter.
So if he didn't say anything indirectly...
So I'm not agreeing to those words.
Perfect.
And so
exactly.
Those are not
so I like
words.
that stance.
You came here with violence, okay?
We live for it.
So let's go back to the conversation we're having regarding the LGBTQ plus bill that Reverend Ntim Fordjour and the MPP is pushing for it to be passed and all. They said we've gone past the conversations. It's time for us to implement. What is your stance on that?
All right, Mimi, let me say a very good morning to you, and good morning to my good brother in the ADC, and to your cherished viewers. Mimi, I think there are some factual inaccuracies surrounding this LGBTQ in relation to our former president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Now, let me set the record straight on this show that the president did not reject signing the LGBTQ bill. And that's facts. At the time, when the bill was passed, there was an application filed by lawyer De La Sky at the Supreme Court at the time when the bill was passed. So as an astute lawyer, the president is, he understands the importance of a Supreme Court application. And so he was not supposed to assent to the bill. So that was the factual, truth there. The president did not reject signing the bill. The president at the time was committed to sign the bill. But at the time, lawyer Richard Delasky filed the application at the Supreme Court challenging the validity of, the parliamentary approval of the bill. So that Supreme Court application restricted the president from assenting to the LGBTQ bill. And that is fact. Now, I read a research from the Africa Policy Lens, and they are saying that about 85% of Ghanaians who voted for the NDC are disappointed in the president's stance when it comes to the LGBTQ bill. We all saw the stance by our current president just some 2 years ago when he was in opposition. Look at some of the unprintable words he said about the former president regarding this LGBTQ bill. To the extent that their own Minister for Communications and Digital Innovation said that a vote for Bawumia and Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh is a vote for Trumu Trumu. That's what Sam George said.
But those
so,
are not
I'm coming. You come in, please. You come in. So, when you look at these committed confidence when it comes to LGBTQ and the NDC, the ordinary Ghanaian is expected to assume that when they assume office, they will expedite the process. And when you look at their comments, even though they didn't say LGBTQ was their priority, but when you read meanings from their comment when it comes to LGBTQ whilst they were in opposition, no one will tell you that when they come into office, that will be the first bill Parliament will pass, and that will be the first bill the President will assent to. Today we are sitting here making justification to why the President cannot sign the bill. And you think that's reasonable enough?
Nobody's saying the president cannot sign the bill.
When you were talking,
so we will get deeper into this conversation after this short commercial break.
That's fine.
We'll be right back.
Okay. But nobody...